When it comes to any movement, especially the main powerlifting movements like the squat, bench press, and deadlift, most people have what's called a sticking point, which is essentially a portion of the movement that is a little more difficult for you, or you have a problem pushing through it. For me personally, on the bench press, it is the lockout, meaning the top third, top half movement where you're actually locking out, as the name implies. Now, I have no problem getting the barbell from my chest to about 3 to 3 or 4 inches above, but that top portion is where I struggle. Now, there are several ways that you can focus on improving your sticking point with pin presses or certain types of fan work, or one way you can do it is with board pressing. Now, a board press is very similar to a pin press. The only big difference really is instead of having a safety bar on each side to catch the barbell, you have a block that's held over your chest, so the center of the bar is tapping rather than on the safeties. Now, the reason this helps a lot is, like I said, I don't have a big problem with the barbell getting from my chest to about 3 inches off my chest. So I want to focus on the portion of the movement that is 3 inches to lockout. Thankfully, I have a board that is 3 inches thick. So if someone holds this over my chest, or if I just gracefully balance it there before lifting the bar off the rack, then I can focus completely on my sticking point. I don't have to worry about that bottom portion of the movement that's not giving me that much trouble. Now, with benching blocks, these are fairly simple to create. You can buy them from multiple different companies as well. But if you want to save a little money, I'm going to show you how to make these blocks the way I did. Now, I have 3 right here. I have one that is 1.5 inches thick, one that is 3 inches, and then I have a bigger one that is 4.5 inches thick. You can make all these for between, I would say, about $15 and $20, and give a day or two, depending on certain factors. So let's get into it. So get a 10-foot long board and have it cut into 6 20-inch long pieces. Home Depot or Lowe's usually will do this for free. Now, a jigsaw and drill I already had at the shop, but you will need 2.5-inch long wood screws, wood glue, sandpaper, a pencil, measuring tape or a tape ruler, and the wood stain and polyurethane, again, I already had. It is optional, but if you do go that route, I would make sure you get a paintbrush. The string, optional, we'll come back to that. The first thing we want to do in this project is measure out our handles. So take one of the boards and measure out a handle that is 6 inches long by 2.5 inches wide. If you have a board that matches the dimensions that I put on the screen, you should cut a piece off each side that is 1.5 inches wide by 6 inches long. Again, if you have the pencil, you can always go back and redo this. If you have a pen, you're going to have to basically sand down until the pen mark is gone. So cut those pieces out. Again, you can see right here, I just did that. If you cut one side a little bit shorter than the other, you can go back and correct it after this step. Once you have that first handle cut, use it as a guide on the other 2 boards. Use it to trace out the lines of where the handle is going to be. This is going to save you time so you don't have to remeasure every single board, and it shortens the gap for error. That way you don't have to worry about one handle being shorter or fatter or thicker or thinner. You can make sure they're all pretty much about the same size. Now, once you have the 3 handles, use one of them as a guide for the other 3 boards. So we need to mark where 6 inches is. Because for our boards that are going to be multiple boards thick, we need pieces that we can connect to it by wood glue and the wood screws. So you can see right here, I've drawn a line that makes this 6 inches long. So cut along that, and we're going to do the same thing with this board. We're going to use it as a guide for the other 2, so we make sure that pretty much all the boards are roughly about the exact same size. Again, it'll save us some time and a little bit of hassle. When you're obviously cutting, be careful. The jigsaw could cut off your finger. I didn't cut off mine, which is a plus. Here's our final product. Now, next step we're going to do, take every single handle and rotate it and cut off just a little portion of the edges. Right now our boards are very rectangular, handles and the non-handle part. So with this, we're going to almost turn our handle a little bit into a oval. When we go back and sand these, it'll make it a lot easier for us to sand them down and round out the handle. And it makes this a little more creative. It makes it look like you didn't throw this together in an hour. The sanding at this point is a little preliminary. You don't really need to. We're going to do the bulk of our sanding once everything is fully connected and assembled. But I would do maybe a little sanding here, just for good measure. Now, the string, which I mentioned, is optional. If you intend on hanging any of these boards when they're not in use on the wall, I would drill this hole in the handle, and you can use a string to make a little bit of a loop and handle with it. I actually did not end up doing that.
So there's really no need for me to make that hole. But you know what? It's your own life. You're on board. You can do what you want. Use the wood glue, line them up, put some weights on them, and let them sit overnight. Or you can use the clamps you see on the left. Now we have our 3 boards. Our single board, which didn't require any wood glue. Our 3 board, which is the 3 boards obviously together, and then our 2 board, obviously 2 boards together. Now, find a drill bit that is similar in size to the screws you're going to be using. Again, it's just a guide hole. It doesn't need to be the exact same size. This is going to ensure the screw goes in straight and doesn't crack the wood. Now, since these boards are not thick enough to have 2 screws going in from both sides, what I would recommend doing is, instead of putting all the screws in the corner where they would actually have the possibility of hitting each other in the middle, put 2 screws in the middle at the top and the bottom, and then on the opposite side put 2 screws at the top and bottom, but more into the corners. This will ensure that the screws do not hit each other. Now, at this point, my mistake, I actually forgot to charge my camera and it ran out of battery, so I do not have any more footage from the actual build, unfortunately. But what I did afterwards is, once everything was fully assembled with the screws, I rounded out all the edges very intensely with the sandpaper. All the corners, anything that resembled an edge. That way it just made the whole board look a little prettier. On the top, I wrote how thick each board is: 1.5 inches, 3 inches, and 4.5 inches. And once it's all done, once I had everything sanded, ready to go, I put 1 coat of wood stain on each board, and then waited a couple hours and put a coat of polyurethane. Again, these are optional. The wood stain will just make the boards look nicer, and the polyurethane will help protect the wood, and if you sweat on the boards, you can simply wipe them off. They won't absorb into wood themselves. Here at the gym, obviously people will sweat on them. It's not very sanitary if we can't wipe them. So I hope this video helped you out. Let me know, do you use wood blocks at all? Benching blocks? Does your gym have them at all? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next time.